Hey, what's up, people? Welcome to my review and in-depth analysis for the Star Wars show Ahsoka. I didn't even really want to watch it. I said I was done with Star Wars, but Disney Star Wars rather, but I said forget it. What the heck? This Ahsoka show, it is mind-numbingly boring, even though on the surface it has lightsaber battles and you go to all these exotic locations and you have all these characters, and on the surface you feel like, oh, this should be Star Wars greatness right here. This should be a treasure trove of Star Wars greatness. We got plenty of lightsaber battles, we got Dark Jedi, we got Thrawn, we got Ahsoka, we got the Rebels cast. One thing that makes this show just really pissed me off about this show is that it kind of takes the same plot elements from The Force Awakens. What do I mean by that? Another convoluted story about a fucking map that leads to the guy that we have to find. And then when you get there, oh, sorry, season one's over. And it's just like, it's like Force Awakens all over again. We got a map to find Luke. And then when you find Luke, oh, movie over. Gonna have to wait 2 to 3 years for the continuation of the story. And I'll be honest, man. At the end of the day, it's just a big nothing burger. Because once you get to Thrawn, once you get to Ezra, their live action iterations are boring. Once we finally get to Ezra, it's just like, really? Okay, I'm not a big fan of his cartoon version. You could have done something with him live action. Like, you could have made him like this Jedi badass. But instead, he's just like some bland whatever Jedi. It's like, I don't even care. Like, once we get to him, like, this is what all the excitement was about, finding this guy. Like, okay, like, big deal, man. Like, he's nothing to me. He's nothing. It's not like, I don't know, it's just the presentation, right? Another thing about this show is that it feels like Dave Filoni, who wrote and directed this show for the most part, the guy comes through with like 3 or 4 episodes worth of material and he just stretches it out. He stretches it out and things are so boring. And the characterization in this show is like lacking. Ahsoka has never been more boring in her entire run. Like, I think of Ahsoka in the Clone Wars and I was like, man, she had a personality. In this, we have Ahsoka. We have Ahsoka from the Clone Wars to compare to. She had a personality. And she's not even a Jedi. So I don't want to hear that shit like, oh, but she's a Jedi and Jedi have to be stoic and humble. But like, dude, I thought her whole gist was that she's not a Jedi. So if she's not a Jedi, why not just use that as an opportunity to have a character with some personality? She doesn't have to be a Vulcan. She has no reaction to nothing. She never gets sad. She never gets happy. If she gets happy, she just smiles, right? She never gets excited. She never gets upset. It's just boring, dude. Even when Sabine betrayed her and they reunite after Sabine betrayed them to betrayed her in order to go find Ezra, right? It's like you expected Ahsoka to be like, to question her. Like, why did you do that? What the hell's wrong with you? You put the fate of the galaxy at risk just to find one person. And instead it's just like, hey, what's up? Hi, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. And then they just go back to being like comrades. And I was like, what? I was really looking forward to seeing that interaction. I wanted to see Ahsoka call Sabine out on her decision, which was reckless. Even though they found Ezra, it was still reckless, right? But again, it's like this show has no characterization whatsoever. So let's talk about Sabine Wren. Like, you know what? I went into the show thinking I was going to get an Ahsoka show. Instead, I got a Sabine Wren show. Ahsoka Tano becomes a supporting character in her own show. And this whole like, oh, I trained you. Ahsoka apparently trained Sabine off screen during the original trilogy. This whole bullshit, oh, I trained you. You're a Jedi. They literally pulled that out of their ass. Because when you watch Star Wars Rebels, there wasn't even any single remote notion that Sabine was force sensitive, but they just pulled that out of their ass because they wanted to have a female Jedi. Granted, I'd rather watch Sabine Wren than Rey any day. Any day. I'm not even gonna go there and compare her to Rey, who's an awful character. But still, it just felt contrived, man. It felt forced. But whatever. Okay, so you go into this show feeling like I don't need to watch Rebels. So here's this Mandalorian Jedi. It sounds interesting, but I mean, at the end of the day, Sabine Wren, she's just so cliche. Like the way they introduce her character, how she doesn't show up for that one ceremony, and then you just see her racing on her motorcycle, and they're blasting this like this generic punk pop music, and I'm just like rolling my eyes and cringing at the same time. As far as Baylan Skoll is the best thing about this show. It's so extremely unfortunate that the actor that played this character passed away. Rest in peace. Because he was the most interesting thing of the show. Every time he came on the screen, he commanded my attention. And I told myself, I want to see more of this dude. This dude is awesome. This dude has that aura like that Count Dooku had. Excellent actor. Barely given any material, and he just knocks it out the park. Home run after home run. And I love the little bits of backstory that we get from this guy. And it's fascinating and it's interesting, and I want to see more of him. But again, once the show ends, this dude is like, he's an afterthought. It's like they show him on that one planet where Ezra and Thrawn were in the other galaxy, and he's just like standing on top of these statues of whatever, the Mortis family or whatever the hell. And then he's just standing on top of the statue of the father or something. And I'm like, oh yeah. When I saw that, I was like, oh my God, I forgot this dude even existed. I forgot that Baylan Skoll was even a thing. Because he became an afterthought once Thrawn came in. And it was just like, I don't even understand why they even introduced this dude if they're not going to like make him an integral part of the story. Right? It's alluded to that that's what he wants. He wants to find the mystery of the Mortis. And it's just not elaborated on enough for me to give a shit. Like, I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like, all right, man, what a wasted opportunity, man. Especially since the actors passed away. And it's just mind-numbingly stupid as to why Luke is not in this series. I mean, like, you have all these people talking about the Jedi, but no one mentions Luke. Example, when Ezra gets introduced to the storyline, and then Sabine Wren recollects to him what happened during the time that he's been away, and she recounts the victory of the rebellion over the Empire, all she says is like, oh, the Battle of Endor. And then he's like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm like, really? You're not going to talk about fucking Luke Skywalker, like the savior of the Jedi, bringing the Jedi Order back, and how a Jedi basically was able to sway Darth Vader to betray the Emperor? Like, you're not going to mention Luke Skywalker? You're just going to talk about, oh, yeah, the Battle of Endor. Oh, interesting. So you got Sabine Wren. You got Ahsoka Tano. You got what's her name? Hera Syndulla. You got Ezra. You got Thrawn. All these motherfuckers are talking about all this shit that's going on about the Jedi, about the New Republic, but no one talks about Luke Skywalker. Ahsoka Tano even says in the beginning of the show, episode number 1, And she says it to the robot that she rolls with. She says, the Jedi are extinct, or the Jedi no longer exist. And right away I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Maybe you heard about this guy named Luke Skywalker, who basically fucking saved the galaxy. Like, have you heard of him? Now, that being said, I will say this. I will say that I like the costumes for the Dark Jedi. You know, we're going for this like kind of Game of Thrones in space kind of vibe, and I like it. It feels like Dark Ages kind of wardrobe. Now, in regards to Sabine's characterization, you know, at first it was a little irritating, but I kind of got on board when she kind of betrayed Ahsoka or whatever her homies when she gave the map to Baylan, right? Even though we know it wasn't a true betrayal, it was more of a reckless decision because she wanted to find Ezra. But let's be honest, man. It was kind of a betrayal. And when that happened, I was like, oh, this is a good episode. So you have there's like 2 really good episodes in this show, in my opinion. And when Sabine gave the map to Baylan, that was one of them. And then the next good episode was the one where Anakin shows up to instruct Ahsoka, which was literally amazing. It was amazing. Anakin's characterization in this show was outstanding, and possibly the best characterization for the character ever. I mean, I honestly believe that because I was loving the way that he was just being a boss, instructing little Ahsoka on the realities of fighting war. And he was being ruthless with her, but not in a mean way. It was just, hey, this is the reality of the situation. You know, and I loved it. Hayden Christensen did an outstanding job. Really, man. I was blown away by his performance. Unfortunately, once this episode's done, that's it for me, man. Like, the rest of the show was boring as hell. And I just kept on wanting to see more of Anakin and Ahsoka. Like, even though I know it's a flashback, kind of, or it took place in the world between worlds, and there's not even any explanation as to why Ahsoka went there when she fell off that cliff. But I digress, whatever. That was easily the best part of this show. Hayden Christensen returning as Anakin, and the performance he gave, the characterization they gave him. It was the best version of Anakin I've seen since Revenge of the Sith, in my opinion. Right? The beginning of Revenge of the Sith. I love seeing Anakin in that way. And like, that is kind of what I wanted to see from Anakin in the prequels. I wanted to see Anakin be a wise Jedi, right? There was no whininess. There was no temperament. It was just him instructing his Padawan in such a realistic way. But it wasn't just realistic. It was like the insight he was giving her was some tough stuff, but it was true. It was true. And seeing him instruct her in this environment, of this war environment, and the way they depicted the Clone Wars, even in this little flashback, it brought in a reality that many of us overlook when we're watching Clone Wars because it's a cartoon. It's like, look, the Jedi basically had child soldiers fighting for them. These Padawans, they're in their teens, man. They're children. And they were fighting a war. And that's the vibe that I got when I was watching those scenes. It was like the reality hit me like, wow, they're really directing this stuff like a child soldier being instructed by her mentor. And I love that because it's making the Clone Wars look brutal. It's making the Clone Wars look like, you know, not pretty and flashy like we get in the shows and stuff. It's like, no, this is some real shit going down. That episode with Anakin was easily the best thing about the entire show. He was outstanding. Now, coming back to the map fiasco and just convoluted nonsense with this map. I mean, I just have to tell myself this. Like, oh wow, what a coincidence that there's this map that leads exactly to where Ezra and Thrawn are. I mean, you couldn't come up with a better way to bring Thrawn and Ezra back. Like, why couldn't you just make Thrawn, being the genius that he is or is supposed to be, come back through his own cleverness? Like, maybe he figures out how to return to the Star Wars galaxy, and maybe Ezra is able to infiltrate the Chimera and come back with him. I mean, why not? Why this convoluted crap involving this map? So, what happens is basically the villains, Baylan and Morgan, use witchcraft in order to get the map to work, in order to point to the direction where Thrawn is. Now, how the hell does this shit work? Well, apparently, Thrawn, coincidentally, when he got basically abducted by the space whales and they took him to another galaxy or universe, whatever, they went somewhere where there's Dothamari witches. Oh, what a coincidence. I mean, man. Oh, and what a coincidence. There's a little bit of the Mortis legacy there. What a coincidence. It's not a coincidence, man. It's called shit writing. It's just contrived and convoluted. And, you know, Morgan, who is the lady that Ahsoka Tano fought in Mandalorian Season 2, she's a Dothamari witch, or like an apprentice of the Dothamari witches. And that's how she is able to know about all this witchcraft stuff and able to have a connection with the galaxy that Thrawn is at. And it's just contrived nonsense. And I can't believe that people aren't able to see this. Like, this show is so poorly written. The plot is paper thin. And it's stretched out for 8 episodes. And it's so sad. It's such a waste of potential. Really. This show could have been really good. But so many things brought it down, and it's really, really unfortunate. Now, another thing that I just couldn't stand and got really under my skin was Jason, Hera Syndulla, and Kanan's son. I mean, oh my God. Once again, Disney keeps on borrowing from the now discontinued expanded universe, which was a million times better than what Disney's putting out as far as storytelling, and it just keeps borrowing. But when it does, it just ruins it. It doesn't make the show better. Instead, all it does is remind you how much better the expanded universe was. So Jason Syndulla, the name is taken from Jason Solo, who was the son of Han and Leia in the Thrawn trilogy, or in the expanded universe. Now, Jason Solo got really big with the New Jedi Order series. He was a big hero, and then he turned to the dark side, similar to Kylo Ren, or I should say that Kylo Ren similar to Jason, because Jason Solo did it first, right? So Jason Solo turns into Darth Caedus. So anyways, Jason was a big deal in the expanding universe. Well, now we're going to take the name and give it to Hera and Kanan's son, Jason Syndulla. How fucking lame. I mean, it's like, do you see what Dave Filoni is doing here? He's trying to create this lame ass version. This lame, shitty, inept, inferior version of the Thrawn trilogy, the Heir to the Empire trilogy, for Disney Plus. Make your own shit up. Like, there's no reason to call Hera's son Jason. Give me a break, man. And don't sit here and try to tell me that, oh, they're not trying to borrow from the expanded universe, because it's spelled uniquely the same. Jacen. The only time I've ever seen that name spelled like that was from Star Wars, the expanded universe. And anyway, I mean, beyond that, the character just is so lame. I mean, it's like he's supposed to be half human, half Twi'lek or Twi'lek. And like, what are his physical characteristics? Oh, I have dyed green hair. Like, when I saw that, I was just like, really? Like, do you not understand how fucking genealogy works, how genetics work? Like, you couldn't give him some head tails? Like, they did the same thing in the Clone Wars. I think it was Clone Wars Season 2, where they had a child that was half clone, obviously human, and half Twi'lek, right? And it looked right. Like, he basically, like, yeah, the skin tone is like that of a human, but he had the head tails. But here it's like, what's so unique? I mean, the kid's mom is green as fuck, has head tails, and it's like, oh, I'm human, and the only trait I got from my mother was my green hair. And then this kid is there, and I'm like, you don't even need to be in this show. There's absolutely no reason for this kid to be in this show, except for this contrived plot device that he could sense that Ahsoka was still alive, right? And he's going to be a Jedi. Why can't I train to be a Jedi? And everybody's like, no, you can't be a Jedi. There's no one available to train you, and blah, blah. Maybe you heard of this one guy. His name is Luke Skywalker. He can train the kid to be a Jedi. I feel like the whales showed up conveniently out of nowhere. At this point in the story, it's expected because all this convenient plot contrivances continue to happen. The whales show up out of nowhere. And you would think that after Rebels, you'd be excited to see this, but it's like things are dragged out, and when they happen in this show, it's just not exciting because the build up to everything, it either takes too long or it's contrived. It doesn't really make sense. The plot is muddled. You're like, okay, I don't get why the whales came. Does it have to do with the witchcraft? Maybe it does. Okay, it does. So fucking what? I don't really care. It's not an exciting thing. So basically what happens is Ahsoka Tano uses the whales to go where Sabine went. So Sabine, like I said, she betrayed her comrades to find Ezra. Even though you want to call it a mild betrayal, because she didn't join the bad guys. She didn't join them like, I want to join you. She just hitched along for the ride with the bad guys to find Ezra, which was pretty reckless. Severely reckless. So Sabine is with Baylan and Morgan, and they go to the other universe or galaxy, whatever, and there they find Ezra. And then when Sabine finds Ezra, it's just like it's like the biggest I could care less moment. It's like, it's not exciting. The guy is so bland and boring that it's just like, all this fucking long wait just to find this guy that I would walk by on the street and not even think twice about him. Like, it's like, who cares? I mean, and I don't even mean that in like a visual way. I just mean that like once he starts doing his Jedi thing, he's boring. He's boring. I mean, his dialogue, there's nothing compelling about him. His characterization, there's nothing compelling about him. He's not cool. He's not wise. He's just whatever. It's like they just threw this actor in there and they're like, you're going to be Ezra. Stand here. You're Ezra. Okay. So you're going to show up at the New Republic. You're going to take your helmet off and you're going to tell everybody you're Ezra. Okay. You're Ezra. And then you could just see Filoni. Okay, guys, when you see Ezra, I want all of you to start crying and start being happy. Okay, but it's like there's no emotion to anything whatsoever. And again, like, I signed up for an Ahsoka show and instead I got the Sabine Wren show. I got Rebels season 5. You know, and I don't know, man. I really think there's something wrong when a cartoon has better characterization than a live action. Like, live action should easily have more drama, more emotional resonance, things like that. But instead, it's just like, dude, like, how come the cartoon had way more heart than the live action? It's like this thing is just dull. And so we go to this other universe or galaxy, whatever. I mean, I think it's another universe. It should have been galaxy, but I think it's another universe. But whatever. So we go to this other universe, and Thrawn is there, and I don't know if they explain it because I was totally zoning out. Because again, I don't care. But if they did explain it, it was very minimally. What the hell was Thrawn doing this whole time? Was he just sitting on his ass with his thumb up his ass? Like, what was he doing this whole time? Like, what is it? Like 5 to 10 years? I mean, it doesn't even really matter, but I know it was years. Like, what was he doing this whole time? Like just chilling? Like he just so happened to go to this other galaxy or universe where these Dathomiri witches were, and they were just like, let's cook up this plan and hope that somebody finds this map and comes and rescues us. Like, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm pretty sure fans of this show will explain it away in the comments section and it'll make sense, minimal sense. But again, it's like, I don't care because there's no heart in the show. And you didn't need to drag this shit out and have this whole gimmicky map stupid plot device like Force Awakens had. It's like, why not just have Thrawn? Imagine this show begins like this. Imagine this show, you have the same setup where Sabine doesn't want to train as a Jedi, or has some kind of like she has some reservations about having Ahsoka train her as a Jedi again, and Ahsoka's kind of like, well, I'm not really a Jedi. You know, that's character stuff. Okay, that's interesting. And they're in the middle of all this, and then boom, all of a sudden, Thrawn just pops up out of nowhere. And he was just like, I was able to navigate the space lanes or the constellations of the stars and able to find out whatever. Just give him a reason as to how he was able to come back to the Star Wars galaxy. And he's like, and I have these Dathomiri witches with me, and we're going to use dark side magic to create an army of dark side stormtroopers, and I'm going to and I declare war against the New Republic and the entire galaxy. It would have been like, whoa, exciting as fuck, right? Like, maybe that would happen in episode 3. But by the time we get introduced to Thrawn, I just don't care. I just don't care. Because I know that this whole plot was just a bunch of bullshit to make you stick around for season 2. Continue your Disney Plus subscription. It's like, there's no way you could tell me that if this story was going to be released in the movie theater that they would pursue the same story. No way whatsoever. Now, it's kind of unclear to me as to why the Night Sisters listen, the Dathomiri witches or whatever. I've been calling them the Dathomiri witches, but the Night Sisters, whatever. It's unclear to me why they listen to Thrawn. Like, I get what Thrawn wants. He wants to come back and reinstate the Empire's rule. But it's kind of unclear to me what the Dathomiri witches want. Maybe it needs to be presented better. And maybe it was. But like I said, man, I was zoning out. Watching this thing was a chore. Especially like the last 2 episodes. In particular, the second to the last episode, I was just like fighting to keep my eyes open, man. I was navigating back and forth between the screen and my phone because it was just like, who cares, man? You know, fighting some stormtrooper zombies. How exciting. I mean, honestly, it came across as absurd. Now, I know stormtrooper zombies have existed before. We saw zombies in the Clone Wars cartoon season 2, on when they go back to Geonosis, and I know there's a book with clone trooper zombies and stuff. But you know what? I mean, honestly, I personally would not have brought that to live action. Keep that in the cartoons. Keep that in the books, because live action. I mean, it just feels ridiculous, right? Like, what is going on in the Star Wars universe? It's like the Force is now, it's been murdered to death. The Force used to be so mysterious and so special, especially if you grew up with the original trilogy first. They used the Force sparingly. They used the lightsaber sparingly. But when they did, it was like, oh my God, such a magical moment. Then the prequels came along and it was like lightsaber madness, right? And no, I'm not counting the lightsaber duels. The duels were badass. I'm not taking anything away from the lightsaber duels whatsoever. But honestly, they went overboard with the lightsabers fighting the droids. Like the droids were so easily expendable, so easily destroyed. Like, it's like they could have just used the Force to wipe them out, man. They didn't need to bust out the lightsabers every 5 seconds. But anyway, that's getting overboard, right? I mean, but you still felt like the Force in the prequels had its limitations. But then here come the sequels, and now, oh my God, the Force can transport matter across time and space. And now the Force can do this, and now the Force can apparently create zombies. And I know people are going to be, no, that's witchcraft. So what the fuck is it? What is it? It has to be the Force. It's dark side magic. It's the Force that creates these zombies. But, I digress, man. This show's like the least concerns I have for this show within the context of the bigger picture. Now, so we see that Syndulla gets court-martialed because she disobeyed orders, because she's basically looking out for Ahsoka Tano and Sabine Wren, and the New Republic is like, we don't understand what you guys are doing, come back to headquarters. And she's like, no. So then she gets court-martialed, or they propose the possibility of her being court-martialed. And then Princess Leia Organa saves her by sending C-3PO there. I really am disappointed by the depiction of Thrawn in this show. I was really disappointed that they got the same actor that played Thrawn's voice in Rebels. I don't really like his voice. I may have said in the reviews for that show that I liked it. I mean, I don't think I did. I mean, I don't even think I addressed it. But now that I see the actor in live action play him, I'm like, nah, dude. Like, I just hate that voice. It's like, yes, my name is Admiral Thrawn. I see that Ezra is reunited with Sabine Wren and Ahsoka Tano. She is a formidable enemy. Like, I can't even hear what the hell you're fucking saying. It's like, this dude is like the lamest version of Thrawn ever, man. I mean, maybe I'm nitpicking, but it's like, dude, when you say Thrawn is coming to live action, I mean, that creates an expectation, dude. Thrawn in the books is a genius, dude. It's like he's the greatest military mind that the Empire had, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you read those books, it's like they make him into this intellectually calculated mastermind. And this is just like, Grand Admiral Thrawn, I see that you have brought me the Tathameri witches, and I see Sabine Wren has been reunited with Ezra Bridger. They are formidable opponents. So then anyway, at the end of the show, Ezra once again basically gets tied up with Thrawn. So in other words, Ezra and Thrawn are together and go to the New Republic, or go to the Star Wars galaxy, leaving behind Ahsoka Tano and Sabine Wren on that planet. And it's just like the end. Dude, Dave Filoni, can't you write a show to be like Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad And what I mean, and what I mean by that, make every episode vital to the story, where it's like you can't miss an episode or else you're lost. Make it into one big giant movie. Make every episode count. Make me want to binge watch. You know what I'm saying? Andor did that. Every episode is important in Andor, right? But for this, it's like, I can watch it while I do, my computer work and just let it run in the background. Oh, I missed 20 minutes. Oh, okay. Oh, you didn't miss anything important. Oh, I missed an episode. Oh, okay, whatever. It's like, dude, that's what Disney Plus is now, man. It's like, it's sad, dude. Such wasted potential. Such wasted potential. Thank you guys for listening to this review and in-depth analysis of Ahsoka. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and share. May the Force be with you. And last but not least, one love, people. Take care.